6:25, 6:23. So Krishna is getting ready. So we can know exactly what Krishna is doing at each time of the day. So let's continue reading from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta. We are reading from volume number 1. The title of the chapter is The Dream Come True. I will read a couple of lines to bring up to the speed, and then we will continue. We would discuss the difficulties he was having and also many other things, yoga, Vedanta, and religious aspect of life. His problem was distributing his work because it was a big publication. He had planned to publish it in many volumes. Naturally, I told him it was not possible for any individual bookseller or publisher here to publish it and invest money in it. So that was a little bit of a disappointment for him because he could not bring out more volumes. So this is Dr. Manohar Lal Jain, who was helping Prabhupada distributing the books, wrote. So he continued speaking. But my sales were good because this was the best translation. Sanskrit text with English translations. No other such edition was available. I sold about 150, 200 copies in about 2 or 3 years. The price was very little, only 16 rupees. He had published his reviews and he had a good sell, a good market. The price was reasonable and he was not interested in making money out of it. He was printing in English for the foreigners. He had a good command of Sanskrit as well as English. When we met, we would speak in English, and his English was very impressive. He continued. He wanted me to publish, but I didn't have any presses and no finances. I told him frankly, I would not be able to publish it because it was not 1 or 2 volumes, but many. But he managed anyhow. I referred him to Atmaram and Sons. He also used to go there. He continued, nice realization. He was a great master, a philosopher, a great scholar. I used to enjoy the talks. He used to sit with me for 1 or 2 hours, as much as he could afford. Sometimes he would come in the morning, 11 or 12, and then sometime in the afternoon. He used to come in for money, quote, how many copies are sold, unquote. So I would pay him. Practically, he was not doing very well with finances at that time. He only wanted that his books should be sold to every library and everywhere where the people are interested in it. We used to publish a catalog every month, and I would advertise his book. Orders would be coming from all over the world. So at least for me, the sales were picking up. If I sold 100 copies of the first volume, then I figured the second volume will be sold in the same number, naturally. But definitely those who would take the first volume would also take volume 2. because it was institutional, and the institutions will always try to complete their set. He used to discuss with me how the volume can be brought out and how many it would take to complete the Srimad Bhagavatam. He was very much interested in bringing out the whole series. One point I think we read that Prabhupada was thinking that it may be 60 volumes. In January of 1964, Bhaktivedanta Swami was granted an interview with Indian Prime Minister Zakir Hussain, who, although a Muslim, had written an appreciation of Bhaktivedanta Swami's Srimad Bhagavatam. As Dr. Hussain cordially received the author at the presidential palace, Bhaktivedanta Swami spoke of the importance of Srimad Bhagavatam in the course of love of Godhead. But Dr. Hussain wanted to know how love of Godhead could help humanity. The question put by the ruler to Sadhu was filled with philosophical implications, but the vice president's busy schedules of meetings did not permit Bhaktivedanta Swami to answer fully. For the vice presidents, the interview was a gesture of appreciation, recognized the Swami for his work on behalf of India's Hindu cultural heritage. And Bhaktivedanta Swami humbly accepted the ritual. Later, however, he wrote Dr. Hussain a long letter, answering the question he had not had time to answer during their brief meeting. This is so sublime. This is details is required. How Prabhupada, never forget the person's desire. He fulfilled those desires. So nice to learn those kind of qualities. Muslims also admit, he wrote, quote, there is nothing greater than Allah. The Christian also admit that God is great. The human society must learn to obey the laws of God. He reminded Dr. Hussain of India's great cultural asset, the Vedic literature. The Indian government could perform the best welfare work for humanity by disseminating Vedic knowledge in a systematic way. And Srimad Bhagavatam was produced in India. It was the substantial contribution India could offer to the whole world. In March of 1964, Krishna Pandit, Bhaktivedanta Swami's sponsor at the Radha Krishna temple in Chipivada, arranged for him to reside for a few months at the Sri Radha Vallabhji temple in the nearby Roshanpur, Naisarak neighborhood. There he could continue his writing and publishing, but he would also be giving a series of lectures. Krishna Pandit provided Bhaktivedanta Swami about 1,500 rupees for his maintenance. On Bhaktivedanta Swami's arrival at Sri Radha Vallabhji temple, the manager distributed notices inviting people to take full advantage of the presence of a Vaishnava sadhu. As a residence Acharya, Bhaktivedanta Swami held morning and evening discourses at the temple without reducing his activities of writing and printing. Wonderful lesson we should imbibe. That they don't give up whatever their primary duties are, but they always add something in their life. so they can consume the 24 hours in service of the Supreme Lord. These are the exalted personality. We can just pay our humble obeisances thousands and thousands of times. In June, Bhaktivedanta Swami got the opportunity to meet Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri. I was really fond of that person, When I was in a primary school, there was one essay you have to write, and you have to select the person about whom you would write. And there was a very small book was there. It's called the Lal Gulab, Red Rose. That's short life of Lal Bahadur Shastri. So I was really moved by his simplicity. He was the railway minister in central government, and then he became even the Prime Minister of India. Even after becoming Prime Minister of India, he lived so simple. So I read it and I said, and I want to come for further study to University of Toronto. So they don't have the embassy in Bombay. You have to go to Delhi to get the visa. So I said, this is my chance. I want to see Lal Bahadur Shastri's house, how he was living. I visited very small room, very small wooden desks, wooden chair with no cushion on it, metal bed with cross bar, flat, fat plate, maybe 1 inch wide, like 45 degrees, twin size bed. And he has about, four sets of dhoti, kurta, and the topi he used to wear. Special hat that Jawaharlal Nehru and all others used to wear. Very simple life. It moved me that being a prime minister. So Krishna made the arrangement. We should learn from every living being has some specific qualities. If you dwell in their life, you will learn. Krishna is so kind. When I saw that it's really reflecting my life, that I should also, he was like a role model until I met His Divine Grace, Tamal Krishna Goswami. These are great personalities we should follow in the footsteps. So let's continue. In June, Bhaktivedanta Swami got the opportunity to meet Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri. The meeting had been arranged by Doldrum Khanna, a wealthy jeweler who was a trustee of the Chippiwada temple and had often met with Bhaktivedanta Swami there. An old friend of Prime Minister Shastri's since his youth, when they have attended the same yoga club. Mr. Khanna arranged the meeting as a favor to Bhaktivedanta Swami. Let the Prime Minister meet a genuine sadhu, Mr. Khanna thought. It was a formal occasion in the gardens of the Parliament building, and the Prime Minister was meeting a number of guests. Prime Minister Shastri, dressed in a white kurta and a dhoti, and a Nehru hat, very well, and surrounded by aides, received the elderly sadhu, Bhaktivedanta Swami, looking scholarly in his spectacles, stepped forward and introduced himself and his book, Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada will never leave Bhagavatam. As he ended, the Prime Minister a copy of the volume 1. The photographer snapped a photo of the author and the Prime Minister, smiling over the book. The next day, Bhaktivedanta Swami wrote to Prime Minister Shastri, follow up. He soon received a reply personally signed by the Prime Minister as follows. Dear Swamiji, many thanks for your letter. I'm indeed grateful to you for presenting a copy of Srimad Bhagavatam to me. I do realize that you are doing valuable work. It would be a good idea if the libraries in the government institution purchase copies of this book. I think this is the first politician who really appreciates Srila Prabhupada. He was a great, simple man. Bhaktivedanta Swami wrote back to the Prime Minister requesting him to buy books for Indian institution. Mr. R.K. Sharma of the Ministry of Education subsequently wrote back confirming that they would take 50 copies of Volume 2 just as they had taken Volume 1. What a wonderful exchange. To concentrate on completing Volume 3, Bhaktivedanta Swami returned to the Radha Damodar temple. These were the last chapters of the first canto, dealing with the advent of present age of Kali. There were many verses foretelling society's degradations and narrating how the great King Parikshit had staved off Kali's influence by his strong Krishna-conscious rule. In his purport, Bhaktivedanta Swami wrote that government could not check corruptions unless it rooted out the 4 basic principles of irreligion: meat eating, illicit sex, intoxication, and gambling. You know, there are 4 pillars of religion: mercy, cleanliness. What does it represent? Gambling is how can I forget this thing? What intoxication represent and what gambling represent?
Truthfulness,
Gambling
Prabhu?
is cheating, and what intoxication represent? Vishal Prabhu, you are saying something?
No, I'm good, Prabhu.
Huh?
No, Prabhu.
Oh, okay. So what does it represent, intoxication? Cleanliness? No. Cleanliness is illicit sex, purity, not intoxication. What intoxication represent? The 4 pillars of religion. It's so simple. But Krishna doesn't give me intelligence. Anybody knows? Nobody?
Austerity?
Intoxication, maybe austerity. Yes. So meat eating is mercy, illicit sex is cleanliness, intoxication is austerity, and gambling means, I said that I forgot again.
Truthfulness.
Truthfulness, yes. Thank you, Radhacharan Prabhu. Quote, you cannot check all these evils of society simply by statutory acts of police vigilance, but you have to cure the disease of mind by the proper medicine, namely advocating the principles of Brahminical culture, or the principle of austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. Haribol, Prabhupada always gives nice. We must always remember that false pride, undue attachment for women or association with them, and intoxicating habit of all. So the root cause of everything is false pride. Real pride is good, that I'm servant of God and my life belongs to Krishna. That's very good. Dedicate your life 100%, but not the false pride. Oh, I'm expert in this, I'm expert in this. Who are we? We are very tiny, insignificant, not even the size of a mustard seed in compare to the whole creation. Why we want to take any credit? We have no ability to do anything ourselves unless that quality has been bestowed by our Guru and Krishna. So why we should be proud of anything? So this is the lesson. But because we are full of pride in our life, this attachment comes. Description will cripple the human civilization from the path of factual peace. There is no peace if you cannot maintain those four things, principle in your life. You will hanker after everything. And that's what we do in our life. We want to make our life comfortable. And just to make our life comfortable, we spend 90% of our time. And whatever left over, we give it to Krishna. How bad? To raise funds for Volume 3, Bhaktivedanta Swami decided to try Bombay. He traveled there in July and stayed at the Prem Kutir Dharmashala, a free ashram. How much austerity Prabhupada took for all of us, just see. So Srila Prabhupada write in his own words, his feeling, inner feeling. This is the greatness of Acharya. They reveal nothing should be secret in our life. Our life should be open. Srila Prabhupada says, at Prem Kutir, they received me very nicely. I was going to sell my books. Some of them were criticizing. Quote, what kind of sannyasi? He's making business, book selling. Very bold. Not the authority said this, but some of them. I was writing my book. Then I became a guest for 15 days with a member of the Dalmia family. One of the brothers told me that he wanted to construct a little cottage at his house, very bold. And Prabhupada can live there. And I'll give you a nice cottage. I thought Prabhupada says, quote, no, it is not good to be fully dependent and patronized by a Vaishya materialistic family. Look at this principle. But I stayed for 15 days and he gave me exclusive use of a typewriter for writing my books. Bhaktivedanta Swami made his rounds of the institutions and booksellers in Bombay. He now had an advertisement showing himself with Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri. And he also had the Prime Minister letter and the Ministry of Education's purchase order for 50 volumes. Still, he was getting only small orders. Then he decided to visit Shumati Morarji, head of the Scindia Steamship Company. He had heard from his godbrother in Bombay that she was known for helping sadhus and had donated to the Bombay Gaudiya Math. He had never met her, but he well remembered the 1958 promise by one of her officers to arrange half-fare passage for him to America. Now he wanted her help for printing Srimad Bhagavatam. Haribol. But his first attempt to arrange a meeting were unsuccessful. Frustrated at being put up by Mrs. Morarji's officers, He sat down on the front step of her office building, determined to catch her attention as he left for the day. Haribo. The lone sadhu certainly caused some attention as he sat quietly chanting for 5 hours on the step of the Scindia Steamship Company building. Hare Krishna. And if you want to chant for 5 hours, we get tired, right? We don't want to chant 5 hours. It's exactly between 2 to 7. Haribol, 5 hours. Who can stay for 5 hours? Very few. Finally, late that afternoon, Mrs. Morarji emerged in a flurry of business talk with her secretary, Mr. Choksey. Upon seeing Bhaktivedanta Swami, she stopped. Quote, "Who is this gentleman sitting here?" Unquote. She asked Mr. Choksey. Quote, "He has been here for 5 hours." Unquote, the secretary said. Quote, "All right, I will come." Unquote, she said, and walked up to where Bhaktivedanta Swami was sitting. He smiled and stood, offering namaskars with his folded palms. Quote, "Swamiji, what can I do for you?" Unquote, she said. Bhaktivedanta Swami told her briefly of his intentions to print the 3rd volume of his Srimad Bhagavatam. Quote, "I want you to help me." Unquote, he said. Quote, "All right," unquote, Mrs. Morarji replied. "We can meet tomorrow because it is getting late. Tomorrow you can come and we will discuss." Very well. Next day, what Prabhupada could do, he met with Mrs. Morarji in her office, where she looked at the typed manuscript and the published volumes. Quote, "All right," she said, "if you want to print it, I'll give you the aid. Whatever you want, you can get it printed." Unquote. How much pleased Prabhupada would be at that moment, just think. With Mrs. Morarji's guarantee, Bhaktivedanta Swami was free to return to Vrindavan to finish writing the manuscript. As with the previous volumes, he set a demanding schedule for writing and publishing. Demanding schedule. Haribo. The 3rd volume would complete the 1st canto. Then, with a supply of impressive literature, he would be ready to go to the West. Even with volume 1 and 2, he was getting a better reception in India. Already he had seen the Vice President and Prime Minister. He had successfully approached a big business magnate of Bombay, and within a few minutes of presenting the book, he had received a large donation. The books were powerful preaching, according to Srila. So Janmashtami was drawing near, and Bhaktivedanta Swami was planning a celebration at the Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan. He wanted to invite Vishwanath Das, the governor of Uttar Pradesh, to preside over the ceremony honoring Lord Krishna's appearance. Sri Vishwanath had received a copy of Srimad Bhagavatam, Volume 1, and had written a favorable review. Although a politician, he was known for his affection and respect for sadhus. He regularly invited recognized sadhus to his home, and once a year He would visit all the important temples of Mathura and Vrindavan. Bhaktivedanta Swami asks Vrindavan's municipal president, Maganlal Sharma, to invite the governor to the Janmashtami celebration at Radha Damodar temple. And the governor readily accepted the invitations. Prabhupada take all this opportunity to take advantage of it. So he created one flyer. And that flyer will say, on the occasion of Janmashtami ceremony at the Samadhi ground of Srila Rupa and Jiva Goswami, they never forget the previous acharyas. They always glorify. Ground of Srila Rupa and Jiva Goswami, Sri Radha Damodar Temple, Seva Kunj Vrindavan, Gaudiya Kirtan performances in the presence of His Excellency Sri Vishwanath Das, Governor of Uttar Pradesh, and the chief guest Sri G.D. Somani of Bombay, trustee of Sri Ranganathaji Temple, Vrindavan, dated at Vrindavan, Sunday, 31st August 1964 at 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. Hare Krishna. I think we have reached the time. So many devotees has to attend their household duties. So we should be punctual in our service. We should stop here. And before the devotee leaves, I would like to offer my humble obeisances at the desk of the feet of all the great Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis who take so much austerity despite their household duties. They try their best to join as early as they can to give kind their association. So we are ever grateful for their